The Forgotten Books of Eden, we're going over chapters 51 through 60, and today we're going to go over the conflict between Satan and AHYAH, our AHYAH of Israel, and more apparitions, which are the appearances or ghost-like images or person-like from Satan on Adam and Eve. So we're going to get into chapter 51. What is his beauty that you should have followed him? And Yah is talking about Satan. When Adam heard these words from AHYAH, he took Eve and went from the northern end of the garden to the south of it, by the river of water where they once fasted. But as they were going on their way, and before they got there, Satan, the wicked one, had heard the word AHYAH of AHYAH communing with Adam, respecting him covering. It grieved him, and he hastened to the place where the sheepskins were, with the intention of taking them and throwing them into the sea, or of burning them with fire, so that Adam and Eve would not find them. But as he was about to take them, the word AHYAH of AHYAH came from heaven and bound him by the side of those skins until Adam and Eve came near him. But as they got closer to him, they were afraid of him and of his hideous look. Then came the word AHYAH of AHYAH to Adam and Eve and said to them, "This is he who was hidden in the serpent, and who deceived you and stripped you of the garment of light and glory in which you were. This is he who promised you majesty and divinity. Where then is the beauty that was on him? Where is his divinity? Where is his light? Where is the glory that rested on him? Now his figure is hideous. He has become abominable among angels, and he has come to be called Satan. O Adam, he wished to take from you this earthly garment of sheepskins and to destroy it, and not let you be covered with it. What then is his beauty that you should have followed him? And what have you gained by obeying him? See his evil works, and then look at me, your creator, and at the good deeds I do you. See, I bound him until you came and saw him and beheld his weakness, that no power is left with him. And AHYAH released him from his bonds." Chapter 52. Adam and Eve saw the first shirt. After this, Adam and Eve said no more, but cried before AHYAH on account of their creation and on their bodies that required an earthly covering. Then Adam said to Eve, "O Eve, or Kaya, this is the skin of breast with which we shall be covered. But when we put it on, behold, we shall be wearing a token of death on our bodies. Just as the owners of these skins have died and have wasted away, so also shall we die and pass away." Then Adam and Eve took the skins and went back to the cave of treasures, and when in it they stood and prayed as they were accustomed. And they thought how they could make garments of those skins, for they had no skills for it. Then AHYAH sent to them his angel to show them how to work it out. And the angel said to Adam, "Go forth and bring some palm thorns." Then Adam went out and bought some, and the angel had commanded him. Then the angel began before them to work out the skins after the manner of one who prepares a shirt. And he took the thorns and stuck them into the skins before their eyes. Then the angel again stood up and prayed AHYAH that the thorns in those skins should be hidden, so as to be as it were sewn with one thread. And so it was by AHYAH's order that they became garments for Adam and Eve, and he clothed them therewith. From that time the nakedness of their bodies was covered from the sight of each other's eyes. And this happened at the end of the 51st day. Then when Adam's and Eve's bodies were covered, they stood and prayed and sought mercy on Yahuwah and forgiveness, and gave him thanks for that he had mercy on them and had covered their nakedness. And they ceased not from praying the whole of that night. And then when the morning dawned at the rising of the sun, they said their prayers after their custom, and then went out of the cave. And Adam said to Eve, "Since we don't know what there is to the west of this cave, let us go out and see it today." Then they came forth and went toward the western border. Chapter 53. The prophecy of the western lands and of the great flood. They were not very far from the cave when Satan came toward them and hid himself between them and the cave, under the form of two ravenous lions, 3 days without food, that came toward Adam and Eve as if to break them into pieces and devour them. Then Adam and Eve cried and prayed to AHYAH to deliver them from their paws. Then the word AHYAH of AHYAH came to them and drove away the lions from them. And AHYAH said to Adam, O Adam, what do you seek on the western border? And why have you left of thine own accord the eastern border in which was your living place? Now then, turn back to your cave and remain in it, so that Satan won't deceive you or work his purpose over you. For in this western border, O Adam, there will go from you a descendant that shall replenish it, and that will defile themselves with their sins and with their yielding to the commands of Satan, and by following his words. While we can see the western lands perhaps could be the United States. Verse 7, therefore will I bring over them the waters of a flood and overwhelm them all, but I will deliver what is left of the righteous among them, and I will bring them to a distant land, and the land in which you live now shall remain desolate and without one inhabitant in it. After AHYAH thus spoken to them, they went back to the cave of treasures. But their flesh was dried up, and they were weak from fasting and praying, and from the sorrow they felt at having trespassed against AHYAH. Chapter 54. And Adam and Eve go exploring. Then Adam and Eve stood up in the cave and prayed the whole of the night until the morning dawn. And when the sun was risen, they both went out of the cave. Their heads were wandering from the heaviness of sorrow. They didn't know where they were going, and they walked in the condition to the southern border of the garden, and they began to go up that border until they came to the eastern border, beyond which there was no more land. And the cherub who guarded the garden was standing at the western gate, and guarding it against Adam and Eve, lest they should suddenly come into the garden. And the cherub turned around as if to put them to death, according to the commandment of AHYAH had given him. When Adam and Eve came to the eastern border of the garden, thinking in their hearts that the cherub was not watching, as they were standing by the gate as if wishing to go in, suddenly came the cherub with a flashing sword of fire in his hand. And when he saw them, he went forth to kill them, for he was afraid that AHYAH would destroy him if they went into the garden without his order. And the sword of the cherub seemed to shoot flames at a distance away from it, but when he raised it over Adam and Eve, the flame of the sword did not flash forth. Therefore the cherub thought that AHYAH was favorable to them and was bringing them back into the garden. And the cherub stood wondering. He could not go up to heaven to determine AHYAH's order regarding their getting into the garden. He therefore continued to stand by them, unable as he was to part from them, for he was afraid that if they should enter the garden without permission, AHYAH would destroy him. And when Adam and Eve saw the cherub coming towards them with a flaming sword of fire in his hand, they fell on their faces from fear and were as dead. At that time the heaven and the earth shook, and another cherub came down from heaven to the cherub who guarded the garden, and saw him amazed and silent. Then again other angels came down close to the place where Adam and Eve were. They were divided between joy and sorrow. They were glad because they thought that AHYAH was favorable to Adam, and wished him to return to the garden, and wished to restore him to the gladness he once enjoyed. But they sorrow over Adam because he was fallen like a dead man, he and Eve. And they said in their thoughts, Adam had not died in this place, but AHYAH has put him to death for his having come to this place and wishing to get into the garden without his permission. Chapter 55. The conflict between AHYAH and Satan. Then came the word AHYAH of AHYAH to Adam and Eve, and raised them from their dead state, saying to them, why did you come up here? Do you intend to go into the garden from which I brought you out? It cannot be today, but only when the covenant I have made with you is fulfilled. Then Adam, when he heard the word AHYAH of AHYAH, and the fluttering of the angels who did not see, but only heard the sound of them with his ears, he and Eve cried and said to the angels, O spirits who wait on AHYAH, look at me, and my being unable to see you. For when I was in my former bright nature, then I could see you. I sang praises as you do, and my heart was far above you. But now that I have transgressed, that bright nature is gone from me, and I am come to this miserable state. And now I have come to this, that I cannot see you, and you do not serve me like you used to do. for I have become animal flesh. Yet now, O angels of AHYAH, ask AHYAH with me to restore me to that wherein I was formerly, to rescue me from this misery, and to remove from me the sentence of death he passed on me for having trespassed against him. Then when the angels heard these words, they all grieved over him, and caused Satan, who had misled Adam until he came from the garden to misery, from the life to death, from peace to trouble, and from gladness to a strange land. Then the angel said to Adam, you obey Satan and ignore the word Yeshua of AHYAH, who created you, and you believe that Satan would fulfill all he had promised you. But now, O Adam, we will make known to you what came over us through him before his fall from heaven. He gathered together his hosts and deceived them, promising to give them a great kingdom, a divine nature, and other promises he made them. His hosts believed that his word was true, so they yielded to him and renounced the glory of AHYAH. He then sent for us according to the orders in which we were to come under his command and to accept his vain promise. But we would not, and we did not take his advice. Then after he had fought with AHYAH and had dwelt forwardly with him, he gathered together his hosts and made war with us. And if it had not been for AHYAH's strength that was with us, we could not have prevailed against him to hurl him from heaven. But when he fell from among us, there was great joy in heaven because of his going down from us. For if he had remained in heaven, nothing, not even one angel, would have remained in it. But AHYAH in his mercy drove him from among us to this dark earth, for he had become darkness itself and a worker of unrighteousness. And he had continued, O Adam, to make war against you until he tricked you and made you come out of the garden to this strange land where all these trials have come to you. And death, which AHYAH brought to him, he has also brought to you. O Adam, because you obeyed him and trespassed against AHYAH. Then all the angels rejoiced and praised AHYAH and asked him not to destroy Adam this time for his having sought to enter the garden, but to bear with him until the fulfillment of the promise, and to help him in this world until he was free from Satan's hand. Chapter 56, a chapter of divine comfort. Then came the word Yeshua of AHYAH to Adam, and said to him, O Adam, look at that garden of joy, and at this earth of toil, and behold, the garden is full of angels. But look at yourself alone on this earth with Satan, whom you obeyed. Yet if you had submitted and been obedient to me, and had kept my word, you would be with my angels in my garden. But when you trespassed or transgressed and obeyed Satan, you became his guest among his angels that are full of wickedness, and you came to this earth that brings forth to you thorns and thistles. O Adam, ask him who deceived you to give you the divine nature he promised you, or to make you a garden as I had made for you, or to fill you with that same bright nature with which I had filled you. Ask him to make you a body like the one I made you, or to give you a day of rest as I gave you, or to create within you a reasonable soul as I created for you, or to take you from here to some other earth than this one which I gave you. But O Adam, he will not fulfill even one of the things he told you. Acknowledge then my favor towards you and my mercy on you, my creature, that I have not avenged you for your transgressions against me, but in my pity for you I have promised you that at the end of the great 5.5 days I will come and save you. Then AHYAH said again to Adam and Eve, Get up, go down from here, before the cherub with a sword of fire in his hand destroys you. But Adam's heart was comforted by AHYAH's words to him, and he worshipped before him. And AHYAH commanded his angels to escort Adam and Eve to the cave with joy instead of the fear they had come over them. Then the angels took up Adam and Eve and brought them down from the mountain by the garden with songs and psalms until they arrived at the cave. There the angels began to comfort and to strengthen them, and then departed from them towards heaven to their Creator who had sent them. But after the angels had departed from Adam and Eve, Satan came with shamefacedness and stood at the entrance of the cave in which were Adam and Eve. And he then called to Adam and said, "O Adam, come, let me speak to you." Then Adam came out of the cave, thinking he was one of AHYAH's angels that was come to give him some good counsel. Chapter 57. Therefore I fell. But when Adam came out and saw his hideous figure, he was afraid of him and said to him, "Who are you?" Then Satan answered and said to him, "It is I who hid myself within the serpent, and who spoke to Eve, and who enticed her until she obeyed my command. And I am he who sent her, using my deceitful speech to deceive you until you both ate of the fruit of the tree and abandoned the commandment of AHYAH." But when Adam heard these words from him, he said to him, "Can you make me a garden as AHYAH made for me? Or can you clothe me in the same bright nature in which AHYAH had clothed me? Where is the divine nature you promised to give me? Where is the slick speech of yours that you had with us at first when we were in the garden?" Then said Satan to Adam, "Do you think that when I had promised one something that I would actually deliver it to him or fulfill my word? Of course not, for I myself have never even thought of obtaining what I promised. Therefore I fell, and I made you fall by that for which I myself fell, and with you also, whosoever accepts my counsel falls thereby. But now, O Adam, because you fell and are under my rule, and I am king over you, because you have obeyed me and have trespassed or transgressed against your AHYAH, neither will there be any deliverance from my hands until the day promised you by your AHYAH. Again, he said, because we do not know the day agreed on with you by your AHYAH, nor the hour in which you shall be delivered. For that reason we will multiply war and murder on you and your descendants after you. This is our will and our good pleasure, that we may not leave one of the sons of men to inherit our orders in heaven. For as to our home, O Adam, it is in burning fire, and we will not stop our evil doing. No, not one day nor 1 hour. And I, O Adam, shall set you on fire when you come into the cave to live there." When Adam heard these words, he cried and mourned, and said to Eve, "Hear what he said, that he won't fulfill any of what he told you in the garden. Did he really then become king over us? But we will ask AHYAH, who created us, to deliver us out of his hands." Chapter 58. About sunset on the 53rd day. Then Adam and Eve spread their hands before AHYAH, praying and begging him to drive Satan away from them so that he can't harm them or force them to deny AHYAH. Then Yahuwah sent to them at once his angel, who drove away Satan from them. This happened about sunset on the 53rd day after they had come out of the garden. Then Adam and Eve went into the cave and stood up and turned their faces to the ground to pray to AHYAH. But before they prayed, Adam said to Eve, "Look, you have seen what temptations have befallen us in this land. Come, let us get up and ask AHYAH to forgive us the sins we have committed, and we will not come out until the end of the day next to the forfeit. And if we die in here, he will save us." Then Adam and Eve got up and joined together in entering AHYAH. They continued praying like this in the cave, neither did they come out of it by night or by day, until their prayers went up out of their mouths like a flame of fire. Chapter 59. Eighth apparition of Satan to Adam and Eve. This is the 8th appearance. But Satan, the hater of all good, did not allow them to finish their prayers, for he called to his hosts, and they came, all of them. Then he said to them, "Since Adam and Eve, whom we deceived, have agreed together to pray to AHYAH night and day, and to beg him to deliver them, and since they will not come out of the cave until the end of the 40th day, and since they will continue their prayers as they have both agreed to do, that he will deliver them out of our hands and restore them to their former state. See what we shall do to them." And his host said to him, "Power is thine, O our Lord, to do what you list." Then Satan great in wickedness, took his host, and came into the cave in the 30th night of the 40 days and 1. And he beat Adam and Eve until he left them dead. Then came the word AHYAH of AHYAH to Adam and Eve, who raised them from their suffering. And AHYAH said to Adam, Be strong and be not afraid of him who has just come to you. But Adam cried and said, Where were you, my AHYAH, that they should punish me with such blows, and that this suffering should come over us, over me, and over Eve, your handmaiden? Then AHYAH said to him, O Adam, see, he is Lord and Master of all you have. He who said he would give you divinity, where is this love for you? And where is the gift he promised? Did it please him just once, O Adam, to come to you, comfort you, strengthen you, rejoice with you, or send his host to protect you, because you have obeyed him and have yielded to his counsel, and have followed his commandment and transgressed mine? Then Adam cried before Yahuwah and said, O AHYAH, because I transgressed a little, you have severely punished me in return for it. I ask you to deliver me out of his hands, or else have pity on me, and take my soul out of my body now in this strange land. Then AHYAH said to Adam, If only there had been this sighing and praying before you transgressed, then would you have rest from the trouble in which you are now. But AHYAH had patience with Adam, and let him and Eve remain in the cave until they had fulfilled the 40 days. But as to Adam and Eve, their strength and flesh withered from fasting and praying, from hunger and thirst, for they had not tasted either food or drink since they left the garden, nor were the functions of their bodies yet settled, and they had no strength left to continue in prayer from hunger, until the end of the next day, to the 40th day. They were fallen down in the caves, yet what speech escaped from their mouth was only in praises. Chapter 60, the last chapter for today. The devil appears like an old man. He offers a place of rest. Then on the 89th day, Satan came to the cave, clad in a garment of light, and girt about with a bright girdle. In his hands was a staff of light, and he looked most awful, but his face was pleasant, and his speech was sweet. He thus transformed himself in order to deceive Adam and Eve, and to make them come out of the cave before they fulfill their 40 days. For he said within himself, Now that when they had fulfilled the 40 days, fasting and praying, AHYAH would restore them to their former state. But if he did not do so, he would still be favorable to them, and even if he had not mercy on them, he would yet give them something from the garden to comfort them, as already twice before. Then Satan drew near the cave in this fair appearance, and said, O Adam, get up, stand up, you and Eve, and come along with me to a good land. And don't be afraid, I am flesh and bones like you. And at first I was a creature that AHYAH created. And it was so that when he had created me, he placed me in a garden in the north on the border of the world. And he said to me, Stay here. And I remained there according to his word, AHYAH, neither did I transgress his commandment. Then he made a slumber to come over me, and he brought you, O Adam, out of my side, but did not make you stay with me. But AHYAH took you in his divine hand and placed you in a garden to the eastward. Then I worried about you, for that while AHYAH had taken you out of my side, he had not let you stay with me. But AHYAH said to me, Do not worry about Adam, whom I brought out of your side. No harm will come to him, for now I have brought out of his side a helpmeet for him, and I have given him joy by so doing. Then Satan said again, I did not know how it is you are in this cave, nor anything about this trial that has come over you, until AHYAH said to me, Behold, Adam has transgressed, he whom I had taken out of your side, and Eve also, whom I took out of his side, and have driven them out of the garden. I have made them live in the land of sorrow and misery, because they have transgressed against me, and have obeyed Satan. And I look, they are in suffering until this day, the 80th day. Then AHYAH said to me, Get up and go to them, and make them come to your place, and suffer not that Satan come near them and afflict them. For they are now in great misery, and lie helpless from hunger. He further said to me, when you have taken them to yourself, give them to eat of the fruit of the tree of life, and give them the drink of the water of peace, and clothe them in a garment of light, and restore them to their former state of grace, and leave them not in misery, for they came from you. But grieve not over them, nor repent of that which have come over them. But when I heard this, I was sorrow, and my heart could not patiently bear it for your sake. O my child, but, O Adam, when I heard the name of Satan, I was afraid, and I said within myself, I will not come out, because he might trap me as he did my children Adam and Eve. And I said, O AHYAH, when I go to my children, Satan will meet me in the way and war against me as he did against them. Then AHYAH said to me, fear not, when you find him, hit him with the staff that is in thine hand, and don't be afraid of him, for you are in old standing, and he shall not prevail against you. Then I said, Yahuwah, I am old, and I cannot go. Send your angels to bring them. But AHYAH said to me, angels verily are not like them, and they will not consent to come with them. But I have chosen you, because they are your offspring, and are like you, and they will listen to what you say. AHYAH said further to me, if you don't have enough strength to walk, I will send a cloud to carry you and set you down at the entrance of their cave. Then the cloud will return and leave you there. And if they will come with you, I will send a cloud to carry you and them. Then he commanded a cloud, and it bare me up and brought me to you, and then went back. And now, O my children, Adam and Eve, look at my old gray hair, and at my feeble state, and at my coming from this distant place. Come with me to a place of rest. Then he began to cry and to sob before Adam and Eve, and his tears poured on the ground like water. And when Adam and Eve raised their eyes and saw his beard, and heard his sweet talk, their hearts softened toward him. They obeyed him, for they believed he was true, and it seems to them that they were really his offspring, when they saw that his face was like their own, and they trusted him again. So we're going to stop there today, guys, so we can see that Satan, how he transformed himself, continually beguile or to trick Adam and Eve. So we're out here in this world on earth, and Yah tells us to continually keep on the full armor of AHYAH, because Satan continually rolls around like a lion seeking to whom he can devour. So keep your head up, stay strong, persevere, keep believing and trusting in our AHYAH. Bless you. We bless our Creator Yah for being strong for us. We thank you. We love you. Amen. Hallelujah.